I'm not getting any audio. Don't know if anybody can hear me.
Lemming,
Here.
Maynard, Monroe, Mallory,
Here.
Knuckles,
Here?
Todd,
Here. Okay, approval of minutes from the June 7th meeting. And then there's also a minute in there just showing that we did not meet in July. We'll review both of those and make a recommendation. They did come out in email form. We'll talk about why the mail might be slow, why you may not have a hard copy, but they did make it out in email form. We should have a hard copy we're trying to do. Any questions or concerns, or so can we read through it before? Look good, make a motion?
I'll make a motion we accept the minutes of the previous meeting.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Boswell,
Yes.
Brangle,
Yes.
Cottle,
Yes.
Jones, Lemming,
Yes.
Mallory,
Yes.
Knuckles,
Yes.
Todd,
Yeah.
That's everybody? All right. Next up on the agenda. We were supposed to have public hearings tonight on two different items, but I'm assuming we're pushing them back because they did not make it, or Kyle, that was your perception, at least in email, as far as the public hearing?
Right, we didn't have no proper notice out.
Right. It made the paper, but it did not make the mail to the proper surrounding properties or whatever.
On one of them.
On one of them, that was the second one.
Right.
So we should be able to do the first one, which we continued kind of from the previous meeting. So we should be able to do the first one, but have to reschedule the second one.
Right.
All right, then I guess we need to open a public hearing. So we're here for public hearing for docket number 01 FB-21. The replat on lot 1 of Westgate Acres subdivision. So we will open the public hearing for people 4 would like to come and talk. Somebody here?
Good evening, Rudy Buckby with Randall Miller and Associates Surveying Engineering, representing Mr. Clevenger in the replat of Westgate, Section 2. Last meeting, we were on the agenda and you guys remember we didn't make the paper. So we made the paper this time. Everything should be squared away. Just trying to replat one lot into 2. Mr. Clevenger is actually already moved out, and the person that bought his house, because this whole thing has been kind of on hold, been living there for the last 2 months, and waiting for approval on this. They can get on their way, so no major issues out there. Like I said last meeting, they're just, the Clevengers are trying to keep a piece of property in their name in Fairmount in case they ever want to decide to move back. They've moved out of state, I believe with relatives, children or whatever. So they want to keep that piece of ground just in case they ever want to come back. That's the purpose of the recovery. Any questions you guys have, I'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, questions for the gentleman? All right. Now, because this is a public hearing, is there anybody here in opposition? None noted. All right, we'll closes the hearing. Any discussion among the board? I entertain a motion if we would like to.
To approve.
Those to approve the subdivision split or sub.
I'll second,
We got a second.
point of order. Just to think about, is this require, is it a two-step?
No, well, I think because we're last meeting, if I'm right, because we did have a meeting that was scheduled. And the board considered it. But we still had to have a public hearing. So this is the public hearing portion of that. So it is kind of a two-step process. The last meeting, if I recall, we discussed it. And now we're having the public hearing part.
Correct.
So we're okay.
Yeah.
This is the second part.
This is the second part. We may be doing first order or
Right.
whatever, but it is a two-part that we did review and discuss. But we couldn't take any action because we not officially had a public hearing or the notice didn't make it in time. So I did for this one. Any other discussion? So we had a motion and a second. Call the roll.
Bothwell,
Abstain.
Frankel,
Yes.
Cottle,
Yes.
Jones. Yes. Fleming,
Yes.
Mallory,
Yes.
Yes.
Todd,
Yes.
7 yeses.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I'm assuming the people for the second were notified that we couldn't do anything today?
Yep.
All right. Man, we're on, right on the report, so we're on the reports. So Kyle, anything to update us on your end?
Well, I think Brian and I have been working, I think, about all these.
You do have a nice list here, I will say that.
Yeah. I put in order probably WebEx first and then into demo contracts. Sure. Yeah, the first one is under Ryan's thing, resolution of electronic participation in meetings. It's an ordinance. We discussed this before, I think, with the new law. Kind of used to by the new, over the last year. But what this does, if you want to allow electronic participation in meetings, it's your discretion. If you want to do it, this just kind of follows Indiana code and statute. So the highlights is that you have to see the one participating in order, has to be seen and heard in order to take any final action for vote. So,
So like right now, we do not see Tyson up there physically.
right,
If he is to actually vote on an item, he should be physically or be able to see him.
seen and heard, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so calling it on a phone would not work unless you have camera capability.
Right, right.
Oh, there he is. Okay, you're official. I just, I couldn't believe that's.
They participate, that's in final action, yeah.
Final.
I'm here.
Only 50% of the members, 50% of the members must be physically present at the meeting. A member may not participate by electronic forms at more than 50% of the meetings in 1 year. A member may attend 2 consecutive meetings electronically, but then would have to come in and then can go back to electronically. There are factors, military service, illness or medical condition, death of a relative or emergency. And the minutes must reflect who's present. Now, in section 5, there are some sections which you can't do anything, and most of those are not happening here. But, yeah. You can make them more stringent. You can go less stringent.
I've got a question. How many, for death of a relative now? immediate family or kids, you know, get right in there, immediate family, their father, mother, dad, you know, right in there.
Well,
And so.
what I did was, like, a lot of times I just copied the statutes. So I don't write the statutes. I think they're written terribly sometimes. So, you know, we'd have to just determine at one point or another what's the death of a relative, and I think that'd be a pretty broad term. Relative to me would be cousin, you know, it's not immediate family. That would be my interpretation. So.
As a whole, do we think we need this as a body? I think it would help in making form situations better. That would be the one benefit of doing that. Now, because if we do that, we got to also, which we do, it's open to the public. It's got to be put out there that they can chime in and participate and view and things like that too.
Kyle, we don't have a choice to do it.
No, you have to. You mean, what's that?
As far as adopting this, we have to have something.
You could have a choice. I mean, if you want to do it, you have to have these rules in place, but you could unilaterally say, we're not going to do it.
Yeah, show everybody here in person, right, if we wanted to. But this is a good option to help make form since we have issues with that sometimes.
What's your recommendation, Brian?
Well, I mean, I would rather have something in place so that we have guidelines to go by. I think some of the issues, and again, like most things with Indiana code, we have to be at minimum equal to. We're going to have some issues with the 2 consecutive meetings with some of our snowbirds sort of situation.
Well, yeah, they may listen in, but they couldn't vote.
Right.
Well, the only way you'd have to do that is if they count as a quorum or to take final action. They could participate.
Participate if they didn't make, right.
Right, it's just a vote for final action or to be viewed as the quorum.
Right.
So it would still assist, you know, if discussion's going, right?
Discussion and stuff like that. Okay.
And this is pretty standard and pretty much what everyone's correct.
Yeah, all the boards that I've been involved with have been adopting because they're used to it. So well, I can't say all of them. Some are saying, no, we've never done it. We're not doing it. So there are some that are not doing it at all. Just show up, you know, small communities. I think it's a little easier.
Yeah.
I know some people have been pushed on some of the boards that like, media wants it. So, you know, like it's easier for them to monitor, so they want electronic communication. So they may be asking you if you don't want to. I've seen that happen.
Well, and we do have, like, we got county IT and that can support and make this happen. I can see a small town, like, we have the capability right now, but you know, you gotta maintain it.
That's difficult, yeah.
So for us that you get into that and then you have issues down the road. All right, since there's no fees or things like that, it does not have to be published. We just adopted it in our meeting, right?
Correct.
So we could make a motion to that.
For adoption?
I would be so moved to approve that.
So Todd made the motion. Any other discussion? Then we will call the roll, please.
Boswell,
Yes.
Brinkle,
Yeah.
Cottle,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Lemming,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Knuckles,
Yes.
and Todd.
Yes. You can put me in there too, since I got to sign this.
Okay,
I vote yes also.
free.
You have a copy that you can send around for us to sign? Or you want me to pull one sheet off mine?
I just pulled it off of yours. I think we all, everyone's got the same.
I just pull the signing page out. Okay, so that's that. Next is up, we'll have to go around ordinance for solar and cost. That's starting to be a heated up topic, isn't it?
So on that, I just wanted to touch base with you guys to make you aware that we are working on it. It's in, I believe, second draft form at this point. at some point it'll come to you guys. But I just kind of, we've been working on it for the last 2 months, and I wanted to make you aware of when I was working. Like that.
And this is with the direction of the council or
Yeah,
commissioners, I should say.
Commissioners, Shane Middlesworth, Tim Eckerly,
What that's
the lawyers and stuff.
Get something in place before we get over it.
Right, just to get something put together, the direction to go before we get it into here. But I just wanted to make sure you guys,
Right. So hopefully the stuff that was in our email, there's a lot of different things that you're looking at.
right,
Connex containers, that means shipping containers.
part of the second packet, I,
Okay, I'm sorry, the one here, before we go with the one you handed out. I got you on the
going
laptop.
off, out of the, so accessory structures, this is one I gotta ask, how, does this have to go to a public hearing? Accessory structure?
No.
It does not?
No.
Okay.
That's,
So for the accessory structures, as we talked about last month, we had a situation when it comes to the Connex boxes or shipping containers. Right now, they're considered temporary containers and they would be allowed for 6 months during construction. And we were kind of went in some direction. Are we going to consider them accessory buildings or temporary containers? We had nothing in our ordinance that addressed the shipping containers. We were asked by the BZA to try to put something together. So what you have in front of you is basically for the cargo containers is an ordinance that would be added to the accessory buildings that would set guidelines for those shipping containers. Our fear was if we considered them accessory structures, then they could be placed in any community as a yard barn. And considering they're 8 foot wide, 10 foot high, 20 to 40 foot long, we wanted to put some regulations with them. And if you note down F, again, this is an amendment to the existing accessory structures. We get down into our zoning down in F12 or F2.
Where the language comes from, Brian? As we do this, or? That's a Kyle.
Kyle did the legal end of it. The rest of it, I pulled off the references from other counties. One of the things I used to reference this was actually a county out of Colorado who had they were putting an ordinance on it. They had a public forum, they drew a second draft, had another public forum, and had a third draft. So I kind of used that as a template to go by and put some of Grant County into.
But you feel it was our need, your need.
Yes. And again, as soon as we started addressing this, it seems like they're everywhere. Something that we were driving by all the time. And when we started thinking about Connex boxes, they're all over the place. But we have had no type of ordinance or any type of regulations or even issue permits for them coming in.
They do have to have a permit.
Yeah. State of Indiana says anything over 200 square foot has to have a permanent foundation, and we have to go through the building department. And a lot of these, they're bringing in, like some of the larger yard barns, they bring them in, drop it, leave. We don't see it. sits there.
Yeah, but to your quote, I mean, Ryan put it together, I put, kind of the legal form, because this is amending an ordinance we have, it's adding one definition of cargo container in section F, if you go to that ordinance, so, I mean, everything else is just the discretion, I mean, it's your discretion. Obviously, this is the commissioner's ordinance, and, so then we talk about, Ryan's getting to go to every town, so coming to a town near you, all these will be going, you gotta go through the process, so, I mean, in my mind, there's nothing, out there, but I mean, still, it's discretion of what you guys want to recommend and what any public body wants to adopt. No, I mean,
So the idea is to get this in place before we start seeing the residential areas. There are
Right.
commercial applications, there are ways to do it, they gotta get a permit.
Right.
And basically outlaw all of them.
And even in RS, it would have to go through BCA for special exception.
Yes, I saw that, that's what,
But,
so,
I mean, for us, to show up, and I think I used the example in the backyard in Fairmount, there's nothing that we can do about it. We can just say it's a temporary structure, it's allowed for 6 months, or it's an accessory structure, and it would follow accessory rules.
so then, yes, the discretion of what you want to interpret this.
Right.
So basically, we're making a recommendation to the county council or the county commissioner on this.
I would say it'd be broader than that, it'd be a recommendation to anybody, because it,
It's gonna go.
suites are all the towns, yeah. So, what I'm suggesting is uniformity. That's the only way to enforce things, if you can do things,
Yes, yes.
Where do we stand, once again, when we go out broadly? Let's say Jonesboro doesn't want to agree, everybody else does. Still, if Jonesboro would stand alone. As long as we're there.
Well, they would, I mean, hopefully we don't run into that situation, it's, the ordinance book's pretty thick and the differences are minimal, I know we've addressed a few.
Right.
We've tried to bring, I know Matthews is one recent where we've gone back and tried to say, hey, let's do it, because, when you have enforcement, you don't want 5 different code books, going around.
We faced that before. I just wanted to clarify so everybody knows that.
So I'm sure if somebody,
If one town or one entity says no, that does
No,
not.
that's not gonna avoid the whole
for
thing.
Everybody else, it just
Correct.
eliminates that.
correct, and if one, public body has a unique thing, says, hey, what about that? That's a good idea. So we'll bring it back around. Not the best way to do it, but
Hopefully.
yeah.
We'll get.
And I think what we've got's pretty, I mean, it's not super restrictive, it even gives the town that authority to, hey, you can't just place it in the front yard.
And it's probably better, I guess I would suggest, before you take this to commissioner, they can just take it everywhere.
Right, take it everywhere.
And go around, say, hey, is everybody comfortable with this? That way you can start the process,
Send it out to the towns for their approval.
or at least
Yeah, aside.
cursory review before we can start doing, yeah.
All right. Do we know where we need to go on that? No, he's saying we need to let the little towns.
Yeah.
Now we're all the way up to something.
For yard barns, anything 120 square foot or more requires a permit. State, and this is something that has gone down the line, but the state says, gives exceptions to anything that's 200 square foot or less. We've got a lot of things in our ordinance that don't meet state minimums. We're going to get to that at some point, when we get enough free time to start addressing some of our permit exemptions and stuff like that. I think that's Matthews. We had talked about, they have a waiver where they can sign off on inspections. We were informed by the state, there is no jurisdiction inside of the state of Indiana that can sign that waiver. So that's some of the stuff that is in our ordinance that doesn't meet. Again, we talk about, we have to be at minimum equal to. we've got some stuff in our ordinance that do not even meet the minimum. So at some point, we'll get through that. These are just things that have popped up that we're trying to deal with.
Most of these yard barns they sell are under the requirement, as far as square footage.
We're getting some of them that are the big 380, you could almost live in them, sort of yard barns that are coming in. Again, we're dealing with some of the companies out there, again, they bring it in, they drop it, they leave. Then all of a sudden we run into it and say, hey, it's too close to the property line, and not on a permanent foundation. And they're saying, what are you talking about?
Well, the guy didn't tell me that when I went to.
Yeah, what do you mean I gotta get a permit? And now that company will charge them again to come back and pick it up and move it and say it's on you. You signed the contract saying you have to move it back. That's another thing down the line. At some point we'll do. We got a whole list here.
You don't think we need to take action to move this to the commissioners and to the, I think it would be cleaner if we did that.
Well, you're recommending we send it out to the town to review.
Well, but you can make a recommendation, if you guys are comfortable, then it can go to all the jurisdictions.
That's because we speak for the county, unincorporated areas, so we could,
The commissioners do.
well, yes, I guess you guys do it in the final stuff, but yeah.
I just think it'd be cleaner for everybody to know that area plan is sending this to you for your consideration. It's our recommendation. I'd make a motion for that effect, that as a body, this is our recommendation to you for everybody out there. I think it ought to come from area plan, from this body. Just somebody drawing it up and filling it out. And it's just coming
With a letter to the different entities, then that we recommend.
Yeah, well, I'll go around with it too. I've been wanting to get around just to introduce, and I've had a couple of boards ask to come. So I kind of told them, we've got this in the pipeline. I'd like to get the recommendation on this. That way I'm killing two birds with one stone.
So we have a motion on the floor to recommend approval of this general ordinance, and we'll figure out a number, but as far as accessory building structures,
Busted.
got a second? Follow.
Boswell,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Cottle,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Lemming,
Yes.
Maury,
Yes.
Knuckles,
Yes.
and Todd.
For the next one, Chuck, we'll do the yards and setbacks.
Yes.
Kind of the same.
They got it more package, yes. An ordinance amending section yards and setbacks in the Grant County area-wide zoning ordinance. So what are we trying to do here?
On this one, we made a correction on E. Originally, it said no portion of the structure 30 inches or less, and it should have been 30 inches or more.
Okay.
And then we have included item H. This is to discuss encroachment in the right of ways. The issue that we've had with our ordinance, where our ordinance discusses the right of way, is in about 3 different sections of the book. And we had an issue that just came, well, we've got a couple of issues that just came up. But we had an individual who put large rocks around a turn. So we met with him, then we met with him with David White in the Highway Department. David White discussed it with the commissioners. Commissioners basically said, let's deal with it. So we dealt with it. Mr. Sparks even came himself and talked to the commissioners. But we've got to have, or we're looking to have something not only for us, but for also for the highway department, where we can identify this is what happens in the right of way. So this is where we added H for an approachment to include fill material, retaining walls, rockers, plants either deliberately planted or growing from adjacent properties or any other materials. It just gives us that one spot we can go and say right here.
So this would be a recommendation to the county commissioners also. What about the other subdivisions too?
Well, again, I think it'd be area wide.
Everyone, so you take that with the other one.
Right.
Okay. I guess we can make the same type of recommendation. Stay up to date.
Again, about the only thing our ordinance said, it has a section that says where right of way shall be lawn. And that's about all we had to hang our hats on. So that's where it goes for the country.
Any other discussion? Topics? So basically, we're just advocating right away from people, to keep people from putting things in the right of way, and if they do, then we can say, hey, this is a obstruction, a safety hazard, or whatever it is. Then,
It's just clear language for the enforcement window.
yeah, we have that out, sweeter where the bushes are growing too close to the intersection or corners and things like
Right.
that.
I do have one question. I just thought of Ronnie. What about mailboxes?
I think they're allowed federally to be located in right of ways.
I think there's some bricks, I thought, were not allowed. Build that big brick.
Well, this becomes a, how deep do you want to get into it?
I'm just curious because I
No,
haven't
I-
seen that, you know, that's been a problem. I've run into that legally, you know, just for safety. I think it's federally not allowed, a mailbox made of brick, you know.
Right. What we ran into, like with the commissioners, was, of course, as soon as we started discussing not only the rocks, but we also had cars that have been parked in another right of way at that same turn. The next thing you know, this individual, he started going down the road. What about, even to the
Right.
point of going in someone's yard and saying they're 18 foot from the road, is he moving his trees?
Came to my house and measured a tree.
So, you know, again, this is just something for us when we get into that dangerous situation we've got to address.
More implied for safety reasons more than, and more than,
She'd kill me if we tried to get everything in the right way. And she'd be chasing me around the office. So again, this is just something, you know, in those cases where we've got a sharp turn with large rocks lining it gives us.
I'd entertain a motion to do what we did with the last one, a motion to approve, but on our end, encourage the other subdivisions or whatever to adopt also.
This would be one of those things where we got three choices,
No, I don't think so.
that we would give it to the commissioners with a recommendation to approve, recommendation to,
I think it's just like the other one, right? This is different,
I believe so.
just amending an ordinance.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of generating here, so I mean, I guess you could stop it and not recommend it would be the other thing. I mean, nobody's driving it here.
Make a recommendation to approve,
Right.
if that's what we said.
that we send it to the commissioners with
Approval.
I do have, what, I don't know what the three, I forget what the three choices.
Recommend, approve, not approve, and neutral, or no.
This one is,
So you're going to approve, you're making a motion?
I make a motion, send it to the commissioners, recommendation.
We have a second.
I'll second it.
Boswell,
Yes.
Frankel,
Yes.
Cottle,
Yes.
Jones,
Yeah.
Fleming,
Yes.
Mallory,
Yes.
Knuckles,
Yes.
Todd,
Yes. All right. What do you have next on your list?
Demolition contracts.
All right,
Uh, On this, I'll put together a demolition contract. One of the things that we have, obviously, we've got 8 structures down so far this year. We do have some individuals who are willing to sign a contract, a demo contract, in lieu of having to go to court. So what we tried to do is put something together. What we need direction on, I know Nicole noted asbestos. We have to do asbestos testing and removal if needed. That's probably something that we need to add. We had other questions as far as area plan. Are we going to, I think our example is kind of coming from Marion. A lot of times Marion would allow like a 10% down payment plan after the fact. So we kind of wanted to bring this to you to kind of have a discussion on it, whether we want everything up front, we allow payment plans. Again, it's with at least 2 now. We're up to 4.
Yeah.
That they were, yeah, okay, what can we do? And they find out a lot of times, if we have someone else do it, it may be $15,000-$20,000. We do it through contract in the highway department, that may knock all the way down to 5 or 6. You know, a lot of times, instead of having to fight for 4 to 6 months, we can go through an agreement. We just need to dot the i's and cross the t's as far as money, will we allow a down payment, that sort of stuff.
okay, so this is mainly for review, get back to the next meeting.
Yes,
And Kyle, you looked at some of this, so we need to.
he looked at all of
Oh, yeah, I see some of it.
I drafted it, you know, I mean, Marion's was real simplistic,
it.
kind of made a lot more. I thought we ought to have some definition as far as what the scope is, you know, and that's subject to interpretation. I was sort of best as little that, hey, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna take down everything and, you know, or get rid of everything, what the payment, obviously the big thing, section 4, indemnification. Basically, we're not gonna be liable. We're gonna pay this amount, we're not gonna be liable, and so, yeah. I mean, this was a draft. They asked me to do something. We just started Marion's and
Right.
honestly, I couldn't draft them out because I didn't like theirs.
That's fine. So this would hopefully be presented to a landowner that has a bad structure before we'd even go to court.
Right.
To save us time, money, and time, mainly time.
Well, we had, you know, one individual, as soon as we got 4 feet of standing water out of his basement, we had an opportunity to walk the basement. By the time we got out, he said, yeah, it needs to come down. Where do I sign?
I think it's a good idea. It's just that I guess you would have documentation to show the condition of the structure and everything. It's just like one signature is turned down your house. Well, I mean, it's not habitable basically, but should it have like a notary on it or something like that? Because geez, I mean, you go with and are you sure that's the right owner? But I imagine through all
Yeah, we'll do.
your research and building a case or whatever, got the right owner that's signing.
Well, they authorize the fee simple owner, but I agree with you, that's not enough. And what I'd recommend is, you know, a title search too.
Yeah, something because you go there and down and say, hey, he was just renting from me, man, and didn't have that control. So those are things that I'd be concerned about. I mean, I think it's something we need, but we better make sure we're protecting ourselves. So as long as that's incorporated or definitely in the procedures, I'm good with it. So while we read it, we'll get back to it on the next meeting, basically.
Yeah.
Make any notations or email them in or bring them back to the next meeting.
That's what we just wanted to get
Right.
that thought process.
But I'd agree if we can get work done quicker.
Right.
Budget ordinance or budget review?
I figured I'd save budget for last.
Okay.
On the sign ordinance, and I've talked to Kyle a little bit about this. Right now, we have a situation with animated or changeable signs going on over in. We've had this going on for a while. I've been discussing it with the BZA. According to our ordinance, animated signs or changeable signs, freestanding signs are not allowed for that county. As you know, we've got several of them out right now. In the upland situation, they have got 6 signs located within 200 feet of each other. Our ordinance only allows 1 freestanding sign per 200 feet. I've got a whole file on it. If we went sign by sign, there's no permits on this. This one's too high. We've got 4 of them too close to the right of way. It's a whole mess, but we are working with them. And they're actually going to do a tower sign for 5 of the signs. And then the Ivanhoe sign will remain, but be moved back some. What I've got with them working with us, I told them I would try to work with APC on figuring out what we could do as far as either doing a special exception or something for animated signs and changeable signs. I've talked to Marion, Sam Ramsey over there. They're not allowed Marion, and he knows they're present. They need to update their zoning and that sort of stuff too. This is pretty common, and looking around at other ordinances surrounding us, it's like no one allows animated signs, even though there's.
That's the hottest thing right now. Your high schools have them, different things.
Now, the upland situation, I'm waiting on them to get back with me with their plans to change. The other thing that they have going on is they have a major highway project coming in from, well, it's going to go down to City Hall now, all the way down to Taylor University entry. They're adding permanent right of way to it. They're adding temporary right of way to it. And talking to the state, basically the signs that we're talking about are going to be moved one way or another. So I've been working with Jonathan Perez. We have a meeting with everyone in the Ivan Plaza over there. We're all working together to try to fix this. What I need to see is what can we do on our end of them as far as animated changeable signs.
I think they're out there to stay, so you gotta kind of incorporate them to meet guidelines, I would say, huh?
Right.
Your recommendation.
I mean, I would like to see them put into a special exception so that we can deal with them by a case by case. In some areas, they may not be that big of a deal, but I mean, right now, we don't even regulate brightness. I think they're allowed to change 8 times a day. They're changing 8 times a minute currently. So, I mean, we don't have anything out there. So what I'm looking to do, and of course I didn't bring that folder down, so I wasn't sure we'd have time to even get to it. But I'm just wanting to kind of work together and figure out what we can do, possibly going in commercial, general business, local business, that type of situation, going to a special exception so that we could deal with them on a by case basis.
So you're going to put something together as your recommendation for us to consider.
Yeah, like I said, I've got a whole folder about this that is going to make it down with.
One question with that, if there's going to be a special exception, is that better handled by APC than or BZA?
Well, again, that's why I'm bringing it to you to have a discussion of what routes we want to go.
I know we went through that discussion just recently with the Nielsen.
Right.
People, so that may be something as you start to develop it to consider and come back with a recommendation. I don't know what is the simplest and most effective way to. We had members that were questioning whether it ought to be here.
Right. Right. And like I said, our sign use table does not everywhere.
So we need to get everything updated, and then maybe it could stay in, or go to BZA. We have rules in place.
And I think one sign, Brenda and I had a conversation, I believe one animated sign came through and somehow we did it through a planned unit development.
That was when Ken was here. He did it for Lakeview Church. He created that, made Lakeview a planned unit development.
They go all the way, try to get a sign.
And again, these signs are $30,000.
Oh, yeah, they're not cheap.
And they're bringing them in operating and we're going, hey, wait a minute. I would rather work with those businesses than to go in and say, hey, it's gotta go.
Right.
That particular intersection you're talking about's a bad one too.
Yeah.
A lot of wrecks there, but a lot of accidents right there.
Right.
Where's that, Jerry?
Right up from Ivanhoe's, a half a block there,
Yeah.
526.
Yeah.
I think that's Berry Street, I think that's.
Yeah.
We've got several of those signs. The ordinance says that the right of way is about 5 foot off the road. The signs have to be a minimum 5 foot off the right of way. But 4 of them are this far off the road. So it creates in that corner, you're reaching out, trying to look around stuff. An animated sign right there also makes it more difficult to see.
We'll be eagerly awaiting.
Just a quick question. Do you have sort of brightness on that? Do you have some sort of write-up that's like all the LED lights and how bright they are? Do you have something like that?
Well, I've got a folder about this thing and everything I've researched. It didn't come down here because I kind of put that with time.
I didn't know there was something like that. I'd be
Yeah, they can be turned up and down.
Be interested to see that.
Okay, well, I'll work on it. Executive secretary position, I just kind of put that on there. I emailed everyone out. We were able to use the unused full-time monies that we had from this year through the transition to cover. We transferred it from full-time over to part-time to cover the new part-time position for this year. We were also able to, they had put when Sandy got hired, our permits clerk, that position got hired. We had put a 20-hour limit on her position. We weren't aware of that. We had talked to Justin prior to working her this summer, and Justin said as long as she doesn't average more than 28 hours, where we get into benefits, that we could work her how we wanted to work. Then Angie got with us and emailed us and said, no, there is a 20-hour limit on her position. And she's one of 3 in the entire county that has that limit for a part-time position. So we went to the council and talked about that also. They removed that restriction. So not only did we get a part-time employee for the rest of this year, we got restrictions removed from Sandy for the rest of this year. Council also allowed us an additional $5,000 to cover. So our hopes is to go into our budget hearings, which is this month, 19th, and ask for that position to become a full-time position. So far for this year, we've got the okay to bring in we're going to call her a code enforcement secretary instead of an executive secretary. We've had the job posted for a week so far. We've only got 1 application. That's kind of where we're sitting. Through budget time, this position is going to be super important for us. We're hoping through budget time that it can become a full-time position.
That would make it more enticing for somebody to come work for it.
That's my
Knowing
fear.
that hopefully will be there.
It's going to be 28 hours a week, 11.30 an hour. And the fear is that we get someone in, they work 2 months, quit, and we got to start over again. And then long term, it ends up costing us more time than it's more. So, I'll plead that case at the budget hearing. But we got help. That's the biggie.
Help is on the way when we find it.
Yeah, we've opened up Sandy. We've got help. Yeah.
I mean, probably requires some kind of educational background.
This will be a secretarial position that's going to be primary to back up code enforcement.
Right.
Or
But there are gonna be
secondary.
Questions for her when she's not able to get in touch with the inspector. code enforcement.
Yeah, I expect anyone to come into this position because of everything that they're going to have to partially or cover. It'll probably take us 2 years to get fully trained. So, I mean, it's going to be, I'm going to include Brenda and Nicole in the process so that they can ask their questions and make sure that they know also. But again, we've got to get the applications in. Justin just posted a position on Indeed, I believe today, to try to get it out.
If you know anybody, I guess that takes us to the budget.
So budget, I sent out to you what we had proposed. Front page is kind of a rundown of any kind of major changes. Even though some of them aren't real major, but also included with it, the demos that we had for this year, projected demos that we're initially looking at for next year. You guys kind of digest that a little bit, and any questions, comments?
How do we determine, demolition plan for a house that's probably been condemned for 10 years, but still never been torn down?
How do we turn them?
Which, I can tell you which house they're going to tear down.
I mean, once we, Nicole can probably speak better on the process. Generally, what it takes up to is about 4 to 6 months, if everything goes right, to get a demo. So, you want to just quickly through the process?
So we've always been a complaint-based office. I don't know it's out there unless someone tells me it's there. That's when I go out there and make the initial contact, and of course, I make the assessment on whether or not to go knock on the door. Typically, I determine on it, I see dogs running around, I see doors wide open, I tend to not touch those homes because I have no idea who's coming to the door. But if that's the case, then I usually send my initial letter letting them know that, hey, your house is in a form that is against our ordinance, contact us within 10 days or we will move forward. If they don't respond to any of those, or if I do have initial contact, normally I give them 2 weeks to show difference. If not, if I don't see any difference in the 2 weeks, then I send the initial letter also. After that initial letter hits its 10 days, then I need to send out the warning letter, which gives them 30 days to either come into the office and sit down and talk to myself or Ryan to form out of either getting a permit to fix up the house or what their plans are. If they want to tear it down themselves, then obviously we don't stop them on that, but we need a time frame on when they're going to do it. If the 30 days goes and I don't hear a response, then I send out the 10-day attorney letter. That gives them 10 days to respond to us before we actually take action to do our complaint. If they do respond within those 10 days, and again, there are a lot of the sit down, talk to us, tell us what the plans are. That puts everything back if they do respond. Once the attorney letter is up on its 10 days, I get a complaint form written up. Between me, Ryan, and Kyle, we determine on what all goes in there, what part of the property we're tearing down. If it determines that the whole property needs to be torn down, or if it's just the house, and again, or the barn, depending on what it is that we're going after. We submit that into the court. The time that it's been signed by the judge starts the 30 days to respond to us or the court. If they respond to us within those 30 days, then we work on whatever the plan is, whether they're getting a permit to fix it up or they're going to tear it down, or if we get the demo contract in place, maybe do that way. If they don't respond within that 30 days, then I can send in a default judgment that allows us to come on the property and demolish it. No ifs, ands, or buts. We're coming in no matter what. And then once we get that down, then we either determine where to put it on the docket, whether it needs to come down prior to some of the ones that we're already doing, depending on where the location, if it's inside a neighborhood, if it's close to schools, something like that, that would determine on where it comes on the demolition. If it's a house clear out in the country that people aren't supposed to, or you don't suspect to be there, then we probably put that one on. Just because of the fact that it's way out in the country, we're worried more about the ones that are going to be danger to children, individuals walking by it. Then once that's in place and we decide where to go with the demolition, then the highway department tells me the start date.
Once it hits the ground, then, and we get the bills in, then we're back to court for election.
Yes.
Again, remember, when we go back to the part-time, that's one house that she just described. That's one. So you heard the deadlines, the discussions, so where I need her to be able to focus, because this is all she's doing. This deadline today, that deadline tomorrow, this, I gotta be here, So, it's a heck of a process just to get it to the point that we've got a court order to get it down. The houses that we've got two left of the original 10.
Yep.
Obviously, I believe everyone knows, we've sent you enough pictures. I-6 is to the ground. Completely. But that one's done. The ones that we've got for next year, one of the things, we've got we're going after the unsafest of the unsafest to get down. Another thing that kind of in the background that we're really going to start focusing on is high visibility. We can leave this building in any direction and find 5 houses that need to come down. So as quick as we can get the houses down that we've got on the list, we're going to start focusing on homes that are being seen 10,000 times a day, every day. We're hoping if we can get 10 to 15 houses down a year with what we've got out there right now, it'll be 5 years to get down what we already know is out there.
That point, Ryan, I hesitate to even mention this again, but Pocock Road, State Road 9, there is no excuse for a county commissioner, a doctor who lives on that road, come to this board or the commissioners 5 years in a row to get something done in these houses. My wife said to me yesterday, this is the entrance to our neighborhood. And they're dozens. They're the highest visible in the county. I don't think you could get a more visible location less than the Isaac Barn on the way to Jonesboro. My point is there anything at all that we can do to expedite that process?
Not legally, no, we cannot. We gotta give them the timeframes. And once they respond, that cuts the time frame even longer. So if they respond to me within the 10 days allotted or the 30 days allotted, that just pushes the time frame back.
So do you have documentation where you notified the guy on the southeast corner of Bocock Road and 9? You have documentation between you and that property owner justifying why he's still thumbing his nose in it?
Oh, no, he's only called me once and he wanted to set up a time frame to come and talk to me and Ryan. He's never responded. We've got the demo to go, but we ran into the issue that we didn't have a director, we didn't have the money, we didn't know where we were going with. That is why Bocock Road has stayed where it was. And then-
It'll be down this year.
And then the bids that were done first are the ones that we wanted to get done first because of the fact that we pushed those bids in prior to moving forward with Pocock.
And Ryan, you mentioned another one. I hate to sort of handbox here, but you mentioned another one out in the county. You know the one you just tagged with the health department last week?
Michigan Avenue.
Pardon?
No, he's
No,
probably talking 500.
500 East.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Now, I registered a complaint with the health department 6 years ago. Well, right after I became a commissioner. Right now, I've got a farmer that farmed everything around it. He said, Ron, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll come in, I'll take that thing down for title to the property. Now, I don't know if we can do that or not, but I just think we ought to be more creative if we can to address some of these issues.
That house in particular, they got with the previous, and again, this is just with our previous director, he received put his property in with a habitat with DNR, and thus
You're
the,
talking 9.
So-
She's
I'm still talking 500 East.
talking 500. It's the one by Van Buren that the church.
oh, with an individual supposedly living in it?
Yeah. Yeah,
we're at the beginning of the process.
I think if we could get a price that it would cost to tear that thing down, I really do believe that farmer who was the initial complainant with me back years ago, I believe he'll come in and take the thing down and it'll be history.
I could be mistaken, but I believe that case is going to be a fight all the way through.
Yeah, I believe so too, because we had contact with the church that called on behalf of the lady of the property. And they're the ones that stated they were either gonna tear it down themselves or they were gonna sell the property to the farmer.
Yeah.
Then what happened is we show back up and first off, I didn't realize she was living in a trailer way back in the corner because there was no way anybody could get back there to begin with. But I guess when I originally went out there, she was living in a trailer back there. They since moved her out of there, burned down the trailer, and the house is still sitting empty, but I tried to call the church back. The church has not responded to me, so we moved forward, and I believe we're in the stage. We sent them the warning letter because I sent the initial letter first, which paused everything. And then when the deadline came in because of COVID, they decided that they were planning on taking it down in November of last year. So of course, I didn't pester them because the church stated that they were going to tear it down or sell the property. Then of course, with how short-staffed we've been, I haven't been able to keep up on all these properties that we do have open. So by the time I was able to go back out there, that's when we tagged it with the health department, and now I've got to I sent the warning letter, now we're waiting for that 30 days to go up, now we're sending the attorney letter.
Nicole, what church are we talking about?
I don't think he ever told me what church he was in. I just know it's Pastor David. That's it.
But the point, Ron, is we've got this story times 100.
I know that, I know
Yeah.
that. But the thing of it is, it's frustrating for me to have neighbors come to me and say, Ron, this Superior Court 2 bailiff asked me, Ron, can't you do anything at all about those two properties at 9 and Boca? And
Mhm.
I'm saying, can't I? What do I say to people?
In the next 5 years, you'll be able to say a lot. We're going to get it now, get it done.
You just talked about that one house on the southeast.
Right. We've got a court order on that one, and that one is actually on your list here. The one you're talking about is on the list here. We've got, what Nicole and I find when we get out into the county is a lot of times, what about that one, and what about this one? And the Upwind's got a town next to City Hall with the roof is down, and Van Buren's got the one coming in. By the time we're done, we got 50 homes. And it's like, which one's top 10? So, I mean, we're gonna make a difference. We've got 8 down so far. When we get back into our window with the highway department, we should have, and we're hoping 13 to 15 homes down this year. We're at 8 right now, which is more than any time in area plan history. And we're hoping to get up to 15.
So
Right now, she's working on next year.
what time frame do you think we're talking, Ryan? Would you guess?
Who calls us back when? I mean, that's where we're at. And that's a lot of these, for those phone calls, we're not just handing out 2-year permits. We're giving them 3 months. 3 months, we don't see progress, then we're straight back into the case. So that's going to cut the time down. That's sitting out there right now that have sat untouched for 5 years.
Are the courts cooperating?
Yes.
We actually had, go ahead.
We went to court on Friday. We were able to get Jack Enslin's court case through. The other individual, we weren't able to get service on, which falls back on myself because normally what happens is I wait for the mail to return to consider it non-serviceable. And that's when I submit everything into the paper. Well, with the other individual insolence that with the other individual that we had in court, Jamar's right, yes. With that individual, we weren't able to get good service, so that one got postponed. So that one I will take the fault on because I wasn't able to keep track on it not getting sent out with, and that was with sending the certified mail that it's never received on their end. But we did talk to Judge McVicker, And basically, he has no issue with, as long as we got proof. And of course, me and Kyle are working on getting more detailed reports to him. So that way we can get through the courts a lot easier without, okay, how do you know it's that bad? But with how me and Kyle are working on it, we're giving it no choice, like, this is in detail. Okay, the floor is caving in, here's a picture. The windows are missing, here are pictures. So that way we can move further into and get them down a lot quicker.
It was a very positive conversation, Judge McCain. So,
Thank you.
But the house at 9 Ocock,
We'll be coming down this year.
well, on the northeast, is that all legal now? I mean, is that guy legal?
Oh, you mean Josh,
I don't know.
the one across the street, not the one with the high grass and the,
No, the one that's got all the equipment.
To answer the question, no, he's not legal.
no,
No, he is not legal.
But we went round and round with him, and supposedly, he's okay, yeah.
I've never met more manipulative bully in my life than that kid. He challenged me out into my front yard from my porch. I eat a bologna sandwich. I said, hey, I'm having lunch. Come on. The kid needs his butt kicked. But no, it's not legal.
But then that place gets worse every day,
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
and he has more land to make it worse.
and again, like I said, we get out, and by the time we get back, there's 50 number one priorities every time we get back. So it becomes, we have to pick our poison, we got, but what are we gonna focus on? Okay, so since we're still budget,
I'll shut it.
one of the things with the budget, it looks like I noted on the front, we kind of put projections together with the amount of money that we've still got. And another thing, with Isaac's demo, we just got into the $70,000 that they gave us for demos this year.
Just got into it. We used up our current funds and now we're going.
We used up the original 44 through 8 structures. So, I mean, that's a heck of a highway department. They can't applaud them enough for what they've been able to do for us. With the 71 that we've still got, 50 that we get allotted each year, it looks like, and we give you examples that an approximate, if every structure had to have asbestos removed, we'd be around 137,000. If none of them had to be removed, we'd be around 96,000. We know right now about 50% will. So I think we'll be completely within budget and have the money to take down what we're projecting to take down too for next year. The other thing is we don't have some of our early demos through the first 7, well, actually all demos, those have yet to go to court for collection. We're in the process of working on that. Insulin went for collection, that was from last year's demo. So we may actually, once we start getting into that, if the individual in Jonesboro is going to pay us, we could have income from that too.
So this information is going to go to the budget hearing.
This is what I'll be discussing at the budget hearing.
Well, whether you give us, do we need to make any, approve this recommendation or just take it to them? I don't think we've ever approved it in the past, did we recommend it?
I think it's great that you brought that to us, so that's not happening.
Yes, a pretty good
I made
detail.
a motion that-
Proceed on.
Well, again, if you guys don't know what we're doing, we can't have a good conversation, so.
I think you made it through the list. I dare ask if there anything you know.
I figured we might be here till 10, so we're being.
All right. Well, I see no other, I have no more responsive for business. Next meeting should be September 13th. So as far as the mail situation, do we need to address that or look at that or
Justin is.
Justin's looking
And
at,
for those of you who don't know, I actually talked with Justin Sayoff at 4:30 today. He said that they've had problems, Nancy Bender, who's also HR, that they've actually had problems with jury duty, things showing up after jury duty dates. People getting jury duty notices, like a day or two after they were supposed to report. Justin said he is aware of it. It's not only us that's being affected by it, and that he is looking into it. I can play you the voice.
no,
But yeah, so I mean, it's not just us. It would have been nice to have a little bit of a heads up. That we were running that far, we're at 2 weeks. now. The BZA, they've got 3 hearings that got postponed. They're going to have a special meeting on the 16th to hear the public hearings. We're actually gonna get everything out tomorrow sent. We're gonna send certified letters to all residents.
for the next meeting.
I got beat up for about 2 hours over this through our. I let them say their piece and I said, I get it. I agree 100%. It's, we submitted these, mailed these out 3 days ahead of time. We're still going out.
Anybody else got anything? Make a motion to adjourn.
So move.
All right, we'll see you guys on next one. Small to start the year. All because of, Labor Day.
Everybody have a good evening.
Well,
Did you say questions?
I thought the 13th year, yeah, Labor Day in there. I should be here.